Good morning, good afternoon. It's bang on 12 o'clock, so I'm not quite sure if it's
Must
morning
be
or
the
afternoon. But one can see loads of people starting to filter in now. It's fabulous to see everybody. Please stick names in the chat where you guys are from. We'll give people a couple of minutes to join. Where are you today, Louie? Not in a white void, I'm guessing.
I am in, yeah, I'm not just standing on a blue wall that's got my business name written on it, don't worry. I am currently in Deal in Kent, which is where I come from.
Okay.
Not a lot of exciting things to say about Deal. I think the Romans invaded England via Deal at one point, so you can thank us later for that.
Could be worse.
We've got a Domino's pizza. That's quite exciting for us. And that's really all I can say about Deal.
Again, I can see loads of people in the chat. Oh my god! I mean, I was going to shout out a couple of people.
Know Deal. Look at this nice cafe on the end of the pier. Yes, it is a nice cafe. It's very brilliant.
There you go. Clearly, it can't be that unheard of. Yeah. But we've got people from Suffolk. We've got people from London, which is also where I am. Wellington. God, all over central London, Birmingham, Barking,
Colchester.
Nottingham. Oh my god, amazing, guys. Look, so many people pouring in already. It's fabulous to see everyone. And we'll kick off in just a minute or two. Just give the last few people an opportunity to join. Basildon, East Yorkshire. Wow, we really have brought everyone in today, Louie. People are really.
We have another Deal, mate. Dunkley's of Deal is an amazing restaurant. It is an amazing restaurant. You're right. Sorry, we're getting really Deal specific. I also saw someone from Colchester. I was a lecturer in Colchester a long time ago.
Okay. See, it's a small world. Everyone seems to know your neck of the woods. And I mean, Louie, you've brought in a massive crowd today. I can see we've got almost 200 people in already, just 2 minutes in. So everyone's obviously really keen to get up to date and hear your great advice, guys. The webinar will run for best part of an hour. This morning, I'll be handing over to Louie, don't worry, in just a second to go at quite a pace and get all of the latest CQC information into everyone's brains. But there will be a recorded copy of this webinar afterwards, both for those who are here attending, but also for those who aren't able to make it this morning. And then we'll have a little wrap up at the end for just a couple of minutes, and I'll highlight how Log My Care can assist with all of the nervousness and worries that CQC brings in many ways. Amazing. We've got a couple of more people joining. Louie, I'll introduce you quickly, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. I'm sure, because we've got so many people here, they all know who you are. But I always think of Louie as our kind of go-to person where we need to understand anything about the CQC. Louie's founder of Care Research, who help with a range of different things, but one of their biggest points of work is just around helping services get ready and make sure that they are prepared for CQC inspections. So he's an incredible speaker, and he's super engaging, hence why you're all here. Enough about me. Louie, take us away and help us understand everything that is going on with the CQC.
Brilliant. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is lovely to be connected with so many of you. A couple of things I want to highlight. The first thing is we are going to be going at a super speedy pace because there's a lot to get through, but you're going to have the slides, you're going to have the video, you're going to have other resources as well. So you will have all that you need to kind of keep going. The other thing is this is the first. We'll be doing other webinars later in the year. There's a whole bunch of free resources we're also going to be sending through to people. So please don't feel that this is it. This is the first of hopefully what will be a really successful, supportive year as we, through Care Research and Log My Care, support you through all of these challenges. My name is Louie. I am the Director of Care Research. Main things that we do CQC training for leaders and managers. We do CQC training for care staff so they don't drop you in it during the inspection. We've all been there. And we do a lot of work around CQC feedback surveys. So you've got all of that feedback evidence. And we do lots of updates like this as well. And as we said, we'll be working with Log My Care throughout this year to make sure that you have all the information you need and that you're kept up to date on all things CQC. So let's talk, before we talk about the changes, let's talk about what is staying the same. And obviously we know CQC are in the midst of a consultation. Some of this will tweak and change, which is why we're going to be doing more stuff later on in the year. Key things that are staying the same. Of course, the key questions: safe, effective, caring, responsive, and well-led. They are probably going to outlive all of us on this meeting. They are pretty much set in stone. The regulations, really important. The fundamental regulations of what good care looks like, of the legal requirements of care, have not changed. This is another situation where CQC are tweaking with the assessment model, not the fundamental regulations. If by pure chance there happens to be a local authority body here represented, their assessment approaches aren't changing in the same way as what we're seeing in these other areas. So again, if you happen to be a local authority, this may not be as relevant to you. We're going to go through these changes in more detail, but I want to give you the headlines. 6 key changes. Number 1, the mighty return of ratings characteristics, with a couple of quite important twists thrown in. Quality statements to be replaced by supporting questions, sort of. CQC put another piece of information out that looks a lot like quality statements, but we'll get to that in a moment. Good news, an adult social care specific framework. Who'd have thought that how you assess a dentist and how you assess a care home might be different? So we have our own adult social care specific framework. This is good news, I feel. Only scoring at key question and service level. So this is kind of looking at how detailed inspections will be, kind of in this new approach. 2 types of inspection, a routine versus a rapid response. One of the great things about this is they've finally given us a timeline of how frequently we should expect CQC to come, which is a first. And then finally, assessing every key question, but not necessarily every single aspect of the framework. So let's jump into some of these. The return of ratings characteristics. Where you see these quotes, it means it is directly from CQC. We will be sending these slides out at the end. There'll be a QR code. You can scan it. You can get the slides, resources, all this sort of stuff. So don't feel you have to memorize everything. We propose to reintroduce ratings characteristics as part of our assessment framework. These would describe our expectations for the quality and safety of the services for each of our ratings levels. In short, a definition of what outstanding, good, RI, and inadequate looks like. At the moment, we have the quality statements, which are pitched at good. The statement is written as a good level. If you go above that, you're in the outstanding. If you go below that, you're in the RI or heading towards inadequate. CQC have finally capitulated to everyone saying, we need more detail. This sentence is not enough. And they are going to bring back rating characteristics. Now, fun little fact. Halloween 2024, you probably don't remember it because it probably wasn't that eventful for you. But for me, it was quite an interesting one, because CQC ruined my Halloween plans with my daughters, because they sent out, kind of buried in an email, a massive 70-page document that outlined ratings characteristics. They have a definition of outstanding, good, RI, and inadequate for both key question and quality statement levels. This was back at the end of 24, not 25, 24. Now, why is that important? Because now CQC are saying the ratings characteristics are going to be in the framework. So suddenly this drafts document becomes a lot more important. We're going to send it out to you all so you can kind of look at it and peruse it. Little example here, you can see we've got monitoring improving outcomes. There's a definition of what outstanding looks like, what good look like, what RI, and what inadequate looks like. It doesn't look as pretty as that. That's my team making the slide look nice. We will send you the full Word document. The reason why this becomes important is, as opposed to it being an interesting little side guide, it now is in the framework. They want to build the ratings characteristics into the physical framework. They will be the yardstick that you are judged against. They will be the definitions against which you get your assessment. We'll come back to that in a moment with a bit of visual. Here we get a bit of an interesting one. Quality statements to be replaced by supporting questions. And in this one, you know when kind of your kids are having an argument and you kind of have to accept that both of them are telling the truth because you can't be bothered to go into the detail of how it's happening. CQC have said one thing and then a month or two later said another thing, and I'm going to show you how both of them are both true, even though it looks like a bit of a contradiction. Quality statements to be replaced by supporting questions. To support the ratings characteristics, we propose to develop a framework of supporting questions, similar to our previous key lines of inquiry. The intention of these supporting questions would be to replace our current quality statements. So supporting questions. What is a supporting question? We don't quite know yet. They didn't give an example. So what CQC have essentially set out, a little example here, and we'll add to this in a moment. Here's well-led. You've got some ratings characteristics, some areas where there are ratings characteristics, outstanding, good, RI, inadequate, and they are somehow underpinned by what they're calling supporting questions, which essentially are questions that can be used essentially to work out where the service sits against the outstanding, the good, the RI, the inadequate. What I think is helpful here is having a definition of outstanding, good, RI, inadequate physically in the framework, not in a separate guide, not buried in an email, not a little bit of useful information to review if you want. These outstanding, good, RI, and inadequate definitions will be physically in the framework. Now, you might look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and go, where did that 6 come from? It came from us being able to fit 6 squares onto the slide. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 3rd December, our lead adult social care inspector, Chris Badger, released this. This looks a lot like quality statements, doesn't it? And he said, we've gone from 34 down to 24. We may go down to 22. These are essentially new quality statements. There are a few changes, which we've highlighted on the next slide. Where they are grey, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah, 14 grey, they have stayed exactly the same. They are exactly the same as what we currently have. Where they are yellow or golden, that is where there seems to be some changes. Now, the changes aren't massive. So at the moment, we have safe and effective staffing. You can see there in safe near the bottom, there is safe staffing. Not a massive change. Medicines optimization, safe use of medicines. A couple of interesting changes. Person-centered care has moved from responsive through to caring. You'll also see in that responsive area timelines and equitable access. It's a bit of a different definition around kind of equity and people receiving the care they need when they need it. So despite CQC saying supporting questions would replace the quality statements, these look a lot like quality statements. And when they were introduced, they were referred to in terms of being a reduction of the 34 down currently to 24. What does this mean? I know I'm going a bit quick. You will have the recording. You will have the slides to reflect on yourself. Let me give you the slide that probably sums it up best. Here we go. So here we have well-led, okay? What we've got at the top here are, I'm going to call them areas. They are essentially quality statements, but they seem to not want to use that term. So we've got these areas: strategic direction, workforce equity and culture, capable, compassionate leaders, governance management, partnerships, communities, improvement, innovation. Where they're gold, it's because they've changed from the previous one. Where it's blue, it's because it's exactly the same as it was. Underneath these will be some defined ratings characteristics: what outstanding, what good, what RI, what inadequate looks like. And then beneath those would be some supporting questions, which I assume would be used to interrogate the ratings characteristic and to define where on the outstanding, good, RI, inadequate scale does the service sit. This is our kind of mock-up. It could be the ratings characteristics are broader than that, and they're ratings characteristics for the whole of well-led rather than under each key area. It could be the supporting questions are for the whole of well-led rather than each area. But I feel like if they're going to put together this, you would use that to then guide that detail around the ratings characteristics and the supporting questions. So at the moment, this is what we have to go on as a new framework. The definitions, the rating characteristics themselves, supporting questions, we are awaiting, and we'll talk about timelines in a moment. Another important point here, an adult social care specific framework. Who'd have thought that an NHS primary trust or a dentist might need to be looked at in a different way to a care home? Essentially, the single assessment framework aspect of it is being removed. The idea of one framework for everyone is being removed and replaced with a specific, for us, adult social care specific framework. We propose to reintroduce assessment frameworks that are specific to each sector, which more clearly reflect and articulate the context of those sectors. So this is a drawing from CQC, powerful image, I'm sure you'll agree, 4 rectangles with another rectangle laid on top of it. But you get the point. There will be a consistent core theme of framework based around the key questions, based around the regulations that are universal. But then there are specific sector frameworks, and we will be one of these pink rectangles as adult social care. Bear in mind, it's not care home, residential, nursing, learning disability. It will be adult social care. And this is not kind of just a back of a piece of paper idea. They have specifically hired new heads of each of these 4 divisions. They have quite significantly reorganized themselves under these. So this will be happening. This is in place. We will have, and currently do have, a Chief Inspector of Adult Social Care, and will have a framework that reflects this. This may mean that things like those quality statements or those ratings characteristics or those supporting questions or a mixture of all 3 may be different for us in adult social care in comparison to one of the other sectors. That is what a sector-specific framework means. It's not going to be exactly the same for everyone, because outstanding medicines, for example, in a residential adult social care space are by nature different to outstanding medicines in a hospital trust or a mental health unit. So we will have some differences in those kind of details around those kind of what they're currently called quality statement areas, what those rating characteristics and those supporting questions look like. And that's really the point. We need a framework that is sector specific, and CQC are moving back to that. This is an interesting one, only scoring at key question and service level. And there's been a bit of back and forth on this one. CQC essentially have recognised that the scoring of quality statements, they feel, has created complexity. Now, I feel it creates a lot of transparency, because you look at SAFE, you look at where you've got 3s, where you've got 2s, and you can make a measured decision around which areas you need to improve upon, and so on and so forth. CQC feel that it's got a little bit too complicated, the maths involved, the percentage thresholds, all of this sort of stuff. So they're currently proposing just awarding scores for key questions. So a SAFE score, effective, caring, responsive, well-led. There has been discussion around, perhaps in the background, what we as services see might be more detailed and akin to the 1 to 4 scoring and the quality statement scoring, but then what the public sees is the key question scores. But I think this is an area that has raised a lot of questions and contention in the consultation, because I think a lot of people feel that actually, yeah, there's a little bit of maths to figure out, but those quality statement scores do give quite a good level of visibility. So we shall see where this lands. And again, if it's something we don't agree with, CQC are very open around receiving feedback. And this is very much a work in progress, not a done deal. So if this is an issue and we do as a sector disagree with it, we can turn the tide on this idea of not scoring in that greater level of depth. Little example, this comes from CQC. Currently, we have the top one, we have evidence gathering. There was evidence scores. They kind of got disappeared because it was too much. Then we had the quality statement scores. Then we have the key question rating. Then we have our overall rating. What CQC are proposing is they'll do evidence gathering. Then they will do what they call a rounded assessment of evidence with reference to ratings characteristics. So recognize here, the ratings characteristics are not a little interesting side guide for you to help you work out what's outstanding, what's good. They are in the framework. They are the yardstick. They are the definition that your evidence will be matched up against to give you your outstanding, your good, your RI, or hopefully not, your inadequate. So these ratings characteristics will be in the framework. They will be the yardstick. That will then lead to a key question rating and then an overall rating. So you can see that kind of definition of quality statement scores disappearing in their current suggested approach. Again, they're open to feedback on this, and they've received a lot of it. Interesting one. 2 types of inspection. I want to talk about this very important change. First of all, we can see here routine plan inspections will take place on a 3 to 5 year cycle, which I think would be a great improvement, because at the moment we know that services are a bit all over the place. Some of you have been inspected reasonably regularly. Most of you have not. And we've had services that haven't been inspected in 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And I've always said, I don't even like to buy, if I'm online looking for a new washing machine and the reviews are over 3 or 4 months old, I'm not looking. And yet the place I put my father in, I have to rely on a report that's 7 years old. It's not fair, is it? Especially, well, let's be blunt, you're all paying your CQC membership fees, and you might argue you're not really getting a great deal if they don't turn up to actually do the thing that you're paying them predominantly for over a 7, 8, 9 year period. So there's an intention here to inspect every service, no matter what they're rating, on a 3 to 5 year cycle. we shall see how that materializes. Rapid response inspections. That is more around where there's concerns, where there's problems, where there's issues. They will do a rapid response inspection. I think the key thing to highlight here is at the moment, a lot of our inspections within CQC that the CQC do are risk-based. CQC are recognizing that a risk-based approach means that there are gaps, particularly around that routine inspection piece. So they're looking to kind of split out rapid response, which seems predominantly risk-based, versus routine, which would be universal. I think there's a big problem around actually getting the person power involved. I often say, there is no kid at primary school today going, one day, mummy, I'm going to become a CQC inspector. We don't have a huge pipeline of inspectors coming through. And I don't think many of us want, a 22-year-old, geography university graduate to do a 3-month course and then magically become a CQC inspector. So we have a bit of a problem around how do we build a team of inspectors that can deliver this. It'll be interesting to see what CQC say about that and what their approaches and plans for that are. But there is the promise there, or the intention, shall we say, of seeing services on a 3 to 5 year cycle. Interesting one here. Assessing every key question, so safe, effective care, and responsive, and well-led, but not every area. At the moment, if CQC rock up, they will score every single one of those quality statements. They will give a number, they will give a little write-up. Every single area will be looked at. This new framework, they seem to be moving away from that. Have a look at the number of times they say every in this one sentence. We would not expect to look comprehensively at every area of every service or cover every part of the assessment every time we inspect a service. I think they've made their point there. However, we would expect that routine planned inspections would normally cover all of our 5 key questions so that we fully understand the quality of the service. In short, what they're saying here is we will assess safe, effective care, responsive, well-led. We may not look at every single one of those areas. Interesting. Some people might be concerned that that might have an impact on the quality of inspections. They trialed this a little bit with the single assessment framework in 24, when they would turn up to some services. Instead of doing all 34 quality statements, they do maybe 10 or 15. And people were kind of a bit annoyed that they were essentially having a full couple of days of inspection, but only half an inspection. I think CQC are trying to work out how do we get the detail and keep people safe and inspect thoroughly and fairly, but also at scale. One of the big challenges that our sector in particular provides is how quickly services can be registered, particularly things like home care, but even residential services. If you're in a school and you're Ofsted regulated, I cannot tonight set up a website and set up a school. I can't just buy some land, whack a building in and become a school. There's a whole big process. The government are very intertwined in the creation and establishment and approval of schools, not with the care sector. And what that means is that every year there are hundreds, thousands of new care services being added that need to be inspected. And actually for the inspectorate, that's quite a lot to kind of keep up with. And I think what CQC fundamentally trying to balance here is how do we give detailed, effective, safe inspections with the capacity that we have. And you can see here this idea of assessing every key question, but not every area. You can see how that's a little bit around managing workload. Again, I'm not defending them, not saying that's right or wrong, good or bad. I'm just saying you can see the underpinnings of the questions that they're trying to answer here. How do we assess all of these services frequently with enough detail? Well, maybe doing every single area is not actually an appropriate model. I'm not saying I agree with that, but you can see the thinking underpinning everything here. So timelines. What are we going to be doing? Then we talk about a few things that you can do to kind of get yourself ready. Timelines. Currently, CQC are developing a draft framework based on the consultation response. April 2026, so just as we're tucking into Easter chocolate, they plan to refine the framework through online and face-to-face events. Now, what this means, do a little bit of basic logic, if they're going to refine the framework through online and face-to-face events in April, then we are going to see that framework in its more fully formed version, either just before or in April. CQC recognised that what happened in 23-24, where they're kind of making changes on the hoof, didn't work. Now, the flip side of it is they're taking quite a long time to consider everything. And there's been quite a lot of consultation processes. There was the in-person events last year. There was then the consultation from October to December online, once they kind of put their new ideas out. And now in April, again, there's going to be both online and face-to-face events to further gather feedback on what they're next about to submit. The original plan was that they would start kind of looking to roll out the framework and kind of start putting it in place, trialing it over the summer. When CQC say summer, I hear September. No one does anything big in the summer, do they? So again, we will see if that timeline is stuck to, or if the consultation in April means there's more change to be done. Most likely, it's going to be post-summer. And CQC, you know, when Chris Badger was presenting on the 3rd of December, just before Christmas, he said that it was likely going to be November, December time that things would be kind of in place. So the first thing to say is please don't go and delete everything you've done and, you know, fire your quality manager and hit the delete button and start again. Because actually, we've got a year to work this through. One of the things that I want to highlight is, you know, this is not a case of Louie's done a webinar, all done, bye, have a great time. We're working with Log My Care throughout this year. We're going to be doing some more webinars as CQC make things clearer that will, of course, be free for you to attend. We're also going to be doing a whole bunch of documents and other work that we will send to you to support. Things like a mapping document to show you where the old quality statements fit in with the new ones. Some file systems. You can very easily in an afternoon look at that mapping, get the file system up and go, right, okay, what was in that folder now goes in that folder, titled this, what goes in that folder now goes in there. So you can just reorganize your evidence quickly and fairly. Some guidance. Once we get more information from CQC, we will be providing some independent guidance around evidence organization, around ratings, around scoring, around routine inspections. And we're also going to be looking at those ratings characteristics and giving you some summary sheets so you and your team can have a very quick bird's eye view of the ratings characteristics, the areas to be mindful of, the areas to focus on in each of the key areas as CQC make it available. We haven't got all of this done right now. Do you know why? Because if we did, we'd be making half of it up. We're waiting for CQC to come to a stronger position. We will then be creating these documents. We'll be doing some more webinars. So throughout this year, Log My Care and Care Research will be creating materials for you to kind of take the cognitive load off. So you've got the practicalities of this is what I can do to be ready, rather than having to figure it all out yourself. If you do struggle with getting to sleep, a CQC webinar can be a great antidote for it. So we will be doing webinars that will hopefully distill some of the longer form, shall we say, CQC webinars into things that are kind of more attentive. For example, what I've just presented you there was, I think, a 30 or 40 page CQC document, but I think we've got the headlines. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what do we do now. And I'm going to zip through this. I'm mindful of time. But I want to give you some practical stuff as well. So we've talked about where the framework is going. We know we've got some timelines. We know that this year is going to be a bit of a transition period. We know that between us and Log My Care, we're going to be giving you lots of extra support over the year. But what do I do today? What do I do on the 5th of February, 2026? So first one, and it sounds a bit ironic as I've just been telling you all the things that are changing. As of this moment in time, the single assessment framework is still in place. If you are expecting an inspection this year, if you have been, not inspected for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8+ years, if you are due an inspection, the SAF is what is most likely to land on your doorstep. If someone calls you up tomorrow for an inspection, it will be the quality statements, it will be the 1 to 4 scores, it will be everything that is currently in place. So as we work towards moving to the new approaches, do not let go, particularly if you are due an inspection, of what is currently in place. If an inspector rocks up tomorrow, it will be the single assessment framework, the 34 quality statements, the 1 to 4 scoring, etc., that you will be assessed against. So keep going for now with this as we kind of move through the transition. 2, keep plugged in for new information. I've got some key dates to be aware of as well as we kind of look at this. So CQC have a habit of sending emails at funky times. I remember there was a time last year where all of their emails would come on a Friday evening, possibly the very worst time to receive an email from CQC. They seem to have kind of changed their game and are a lot more kind of aware of those sorts of issues. If you get a CQC email, do spend some time opening it, clicking the links, having a read through. If you can block out half an hour during the week to have a look, it's always useful because CQC doesn't really announce things in big, explosive ways. They slip things in. and you'll read something and go, oh, wait a sec. So, for example, that point around the road shows, that was like half a sentence as part of a whole page of text. But that half a sentence gave us the timeline for when we're going to get the more finalized version of the framework, what the next consultation process is going to look like. But it was kind of a half a sentence across a page. So if CQC do send something, build in some time to go through it. As we said, we're going to be doing some Log My Care webinars throughout the year. I will be at the Care Show with Log My Care as well. So if you want to come and have a chat there, the Care Show in London. We've also got lots of documents, and kind of as CQC land the plane, so to speak, we will be creating a whole range of resources to help you through that process. We'll be sending those out. Dates to be aware of, particularly April, because we know that in April, CQC want to do these in-person events, which means we will get a much more finalized version of the framework in April. June is often a good time because it's not quite July summer, but often they will kind of pilot things and get information out in June. And then October, December. So keep an eye particularly around those dates. Those are probably where we're going to see bigger jumps in the journey. So April will have another big jump when we see what the new framework is looking like. June, we might be having some pilots, we might be having some feedbacks and developments. October, often CQC will start to kind of roll things out and be very much switched back in around that September, October time. And as the Chief Inspector of Health and Social Care for CQC stated, it will be around the November, December time that things will be in place. And of course, connect with us too. We do a lot of information. We do a lot of information sharing, webinars, training, etc. Got our details at the bottom there. Do connect with us too if you'd like to ask anything, or if you've got any particular CQC questions. Couple more bits. I'm aware of time, so I'm going to make sure that I'm reasonably speedy. Train your staff. Now, one of the things that isn't really CQC framework dependent is getting your staff ready to speak with CQC. CQC have really drilled in on speaking with care staff. And one of the things that we are going to send you later on is 25 questions that CQC emailed care staff literally a few weeks ago as part of an inspection. And it makes sense. If CQC have a couple of days to figure out the service, then clearly the people that are providing care, the people that are on the floor, they are going to be absolutely central to them getting a clear assessment and understanding of this service. They see the clients, the residents every day. They speak to the families first. They're on the door when the professional partners kick off. They're there when emergencies occur, and they work under all those policies, procedures, processes that you create. So actually, speaking to staff has become a real kind of hallmark of how CQC operate and how CQC wish to carry out their assessments. And we see a lot of CQC reports now are printing in black and white text what people tell them, which can be great news, or it can be not so great news. So just a few things to help you get your staff CQC ready. And again, we can send out some further information and resources to get in touch. Number one, really important message that we always help staff know. They are assessing the service, not you. You are not on trial here. You are giving evidence. They're not speaking to you because they're worried about you. They're not trying to figure out whether you're good at your job or not. They want to find out what this place is like. And you as a staff member here are a great fountain of information to help them figure what it's like here. Number two, time to celebrate. This is a good thing. Now, you as the manager might get the phone call, have a little cry, have a little drink of the secret wine bottle in your cupboard if you need to. Then when you go out, you market this to your team as a great opportunity. Finally, they're here. We can get the rating we deserve. We can show them all the great care we could provide. We can show them all the improvements we've made. We've got to shape this as a positive thing and help our staff see this is time for them to celebrate their excellence and what they do. Number three, introduce the quality statements. We know those things are tweaking and changing. We've got a document we're going to be sending out to you. What it does, it helps them look at what are my experiences? What do I do every day in relation to these areas? What does the service do really well each day? And is there anything that the service can improve upon? That will give you an idea of where your staff are currently at. Number four, practice answering questions. One of the things that I think is quite tricky for care staff is this is a big ask. You know, a complete stranger sitting down and sometimes, you know, sending you an email with 25 questions or talking to you for half an hour, 45 minutes. It's getting things from your mind to your mouth is sometimes the longest journey. So they come out in the right way. Giving people space to answer those questions. And again, we'll be sending you a list of practice questions that you can use with your staff. These came directly from CQC as recently as a couple of weeks ago. So you can use real CQC questions to kind of support your staff and help them go through that thinking process. Number 5, prepare for the actual visit. We have had some very unique examples of staff hiding. We've worked with services where, you know, a staff member knew there was an unoccupied room, so they locked themselves in that room. We've had other examples of staff going, "Do you know what? I'm going to help the laundry team today for the first time ever. Worked here for 17 years, never cared about the laundry team before, but suddenly CQC are here and there's 8 volunteers to help in the laundry department." A lot of the time, this is just nerves. It's just a fear thing. And actually, if we can help our staff understand this is a chance for you to show off, this is a chance for you to celebrate, introduce yourself, let them know who you are, let them know what you can do, preparing them for the actual visit so that they can be your ambassadors. A couple of things we're going to send through to you. Again, there's a QR code, scan it at the end, we can connect, send these things out. You can see here quality statement and the descriptor, and then it's a very simple task. What are my experiences? What's going well at the home or the service that I can celebrate? Are there any improvements? It's a great way of getting an idea of where your staff currently are at, what they think about these sorts of areas, what they know to celebrate, and also without any improvement space, anything that could crop up that maybe you need to prepare for or you need to educate your team on. We're also going to send you through these questions. Again, it's a PDF. It's got essentially example questions from real CQC emails pinned to the various quality statements that they were pinned to in that email. I think there's about 25 different ones represented there, and it gives you that space, that opportunity to kind of look through real CQC questions and just get an idea of where your staff are at. Things that you might kind of struggle with on this. If you lead on this training, you can sound like a bit of a nag. You know, I don't know if, you know, it was Christmas recently. I've got 2 young girls. I love them very much, but Nana's coming over, girls. Don't talk about farts. Don't do this, don't do that, do this, do this, do that. You know, sometimes you have to just make sure your children don't drop the ball. Sometimes as managers, if we lead on this, we run the risk of coming across like that parent trying to, quote unquote, manage their team rather than inspiring, edifying, encouraging our team to be excited for this event. Or worse, it can make it look like you're feeding them lines. And often most managers simply don't have the time to actually do this sort of work to help their staff get through this. We, as Care Research, do have a training course that we do called Care Staff Confidence. It is about getting your care staff ready to speak with CQC. The way we do it, we do a morning session with one set of staff. We do an afternoon session with another set of staff. You don't have that whole rotoring issue. You don't have people off the floor all day. You have a morning with one set, an afternoon with a different set of staff. And we then have a whole suite of online resources, videos that I've done, practice audio questions, practical tasks. So you can use those to support the team after that in-person day. You can see a little still of the video. I'm not sure whether I'm thinner, fatter, or the same as I am in that picture. Either way, it's something for me to aim to get back to. And then on the left, you can see a picture of some of the team that were doing one of our trainings. It's a great way to get your team ready, because whatever CQC do, whatever directions they pull in, they will want to speak to staff. So making sure your staff are ready is a really important point. Right, I can see Josh has turned up, which is a very polite way of saying, Louie, stop talking. We've got other stuff to do. What I am going to quickly highlight is, again, get in touch with us. We've got our details here. You can scan the QR code there. If you've got a moment now, we can also get things sent out to you. And yes, I hope you found that useful, and I hope that's been valuable.
Well, Louie, I certainly found it useful. Just trying to make sense of all these tiny little pieces of information the CQC seemed to spread across 100 different places was incredible. I feel like I need to go away, read through my notes, check over your slides. And I know people have been asking, there'll be that recording and a copy of Louie's slides. So yeah, sorry to cut you off.
Next one we'll do for an hour, Josh.
Yeah. Maybe more, Louie, or we'll just have to do them more regularly, to be honest.
6-hour lecture.
And I can see some lovely feedback coming in from people. I'm going to chat just quickly about Log My Care, but guys, put some questions in the chat, because Louie and I are going to stick around for a little bit longer, and I'll bombard him with all of your questions. So if you've got any questions about the CQC that you want Louie to answer, make sure to get them in right now. Just in terms of how Log My Care can help with your CQC inspections, both kind of ongoing preparation and when they come knocking on the door. We're a digital record system mainly focused on helping you have consistent, accurate notes that meet all of the random pieces of information the CQC are always deciding that they want, and then being able to surface that information to managers. In terms of how we do that, I'll have a quick look at exactly how Log My Care works. I'm really hoping this screen share works. Louie, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Perfect. So this is what we call our care office. All of that information that the team record every single day pulls through real time. And the idea is just to be able to help you spot trends, hopefully, before the CQC come knocking on the homepage here, and then have a suite of different reports for when they actually do come. Obviously, being able to see any incidents and alerts right at the start is incredibly important. We have a whole case management suite when it comes to evidencing follow-up in a timely manner after incidents. Also, just being able to see when team members have missed any of those to-dos or their tasks, and also checking things like support or care plans and medications are being reviewed or being administered in a timely manner, just so you have all of those warnings, those alerts, that oversight on a day-to-day basis. And it's not a last minute, oh my God, the CQC are coming, we need to make sure that we've been doing well and we've got reasons if anything hasn't been done well. We want to enable that continuous process of improvement. And I know in one of our polls that we ran during, sounds like most people are trying to do that continuous improvement rather than that last minute panic. So that certainly aligns to how Log My Care supports you. And then when it actually comes time for the CQC to inspect, we have a range of different pre-built reports that help you prepare for those inspections, whether it's an overview of any incidents within the service and being able to break those down on a week-by-week basis, by location, by type of incident, or by severity, and being able to download that and even just print it off and hand it to that person. You've got your regular monitoring reports for things like fluids with warnings when we have either gone over or gone under a target or a limit, and the same goes for foods, weights, or you can generate and download custom reports on the frequency of anything that you're providing. As I mentioned, staying on top of support plan reviews are really easy. I can see I am actually up to date for the first time ever, and I can see when my next regular reviews are due, and similarly for things like medication. And whether it's the CQC or if it's a local council, it's really easy to get your information out of Log My Care. Just being able to download anything that they ask for, manipulate that data to anonymize it if necessary, and get that over to them if they are asking for things before they turn up. We can do that, whether that's items of care and support, copies of support plans, risk assessments, and so on. So not only do we enable you to stay on top of things as they're going, but also be able to get all that information out of the system and evidence it without having to, sift through loads of places, whether that's paper or lots of different digital systems. That's enough about me and about Log My Care, though. I can see a few people are putting some more questions in the chat. Louie, I've got a couple of questions noted down that I'm going to come to you with. Early on in the session, Dan asked, are you still going to have the ability to request a re-inspection if you think you've improved?
Well, I mean, I'd argue that's never fully existed as a definite. So I think here's how I would put that. CQC wants one thing I didn't mention, partially because I don't know how they'll do it, so I didn't want to bring everyone's hopes up. The CQC have been very open. Again, it's not my fault. I'm not CQC. This is not my fault. I want to make that abundantly clear. One of the things that CQC have promised is the return of the relationship named inspector. So one of the things that they kind of chucked in the bin for the SAF was the idea of you knowing who your inspector is and they're down the road, well, literally, metaphorically. Now, the reinstatement of that relationship may make things like requesting a re-inspection, challenging a inspection easier because you have a direct pathway. So I think the return of named relationship inspectors will bring us closer to that. The reason why I don't go into it much in this presentation is I don't know how they're going to do it. And if it's a named inspector, but it's a named inspector that's got like 15,000 locations, that's going to be a bit tricky. Now, that's obviously just me talking exaggerated there. But so if we do get a way of sensibly having the named inspector, registered inspector back, as they have frequently said they got wrong and they need to bring back, then I think that will be more likely. At the moment, there is no magic button you can press to go, come and inspect us again. And I don't see them introducing something as specific and direct as that. Hopefully named inspectors will support that more, make it easier to get reinspected.
So in summary there, Louis, could change if we get named inspectors, but maybe don't hold your breath and make sure that you are fully prepared if you are expecting that inspection coming up soon.
Don't bank on a round 2. Do round 1 well.
Got it. And Kerry had a question as well, just on that. Obviously, where we are kind of switching maybe between that single assessment framework, coming back to something that's specifically for adult social care. Kerry had a question. Does that mean inspections using the single assessment framework are on hold right now? Can people still expect to be inspected using the single assessment?
Expect to be inspected under the SAP. So if someone turns up in your house to your service tomorrow, it will be the single assessment framework. It will be 34 quality statements, 1 to 4 scoring, the whole 9 yards. So they haven't stopped inspections. They haven't stopped SAF. It is at right now, as I said earlier, keep calm and carry on. The SAF is in place. If you're inspected, probably any time between now and summer at least, it's going to be SAF, and then we'll see how things progress into the latter half of the year, depending upon how these consultation pieces go and how the other big thing is how quickly inspectors themselves learn to use that. If you do get an early inspection under the new framework, there's nothing wrong with asking, have you done this before? Is this a newer framework? Because that's useful for you to know in terms of where they are in this process. But for now, it's the same.
Got it. And obviously, Louis, you can't read the CQC's mind. You can't tell us when they would think about switching, but you would say
they said they wanted it in place. They said they wanted it fully in place November, December.
Okay.
They were talking about things being rolled out from the summer. But rolled out, what they've also been very open about is they don't want to do a bang overnight. If you remember the SAF, what happened? 6th of December, it rolled out in Kent, and then like a virus, it spread, and each region every few months, I think it was eventually the whole country by February, it kind of spread upwards. And basically you woke up one day and there's a new framework. They don't want to do it that way because they felt that was just too much of a shock. So it won't be the kind of same, ta-da, as of now, it's chuck that in the bin, we're doing this. So it should be more gradual, a bit more human to be.
Okay. That would certainly be a nice change. I think Haley had a question just on that human aspect as well for you, Louis. Any insight into how those frameworks are going to differ if people are providing any support maybe to young people that aren't adults? Would they expect a different inspector to come to the service, or will there be inspectors doing multiple frameworks?
This is a great question. And it's something that came up a lot in the in-person events last year, which was basically CQC's public I'm sorry tour, where they were kind of going through, let's give you some space to highlight. And one of the big things that came through was services not really being represented. You'd have a service that only had 3 clients. It was being treated as if it was a care home with 50, and having inspectors that had the right levels of experience. Part of this move to sector-specific frameworks includes a move towards sector-specific teams. So getting someone with an adult social care experience. Now, what that then means for the specificity of younger people and younger people's services, obviously I can't personally guarantee anything, but there is certainly a recognition that we need to be matching services to inspectors. Now, whether there is the material scope and team to deliver that and so on and so forth, that's the next challenge. But there is a recognition that the SAF was kind of, well, we're all using the same framework, so we can all kind of inspect each other now. This is going the other way and going, no, actually, we have our own frameworks, our own inspection leads, and our own inspection heads. For us, is adult social care. Quite how younger person's care fits into that, that'll be interesting to see.
Got it. So essentially, again, the aim is more variance between what inspectors do in terms of both regional and frameworks, but it's down to capacity and exactly what those finalized versions look like towards the end of this year.
I love your summaries, Josh. It's like having AI as a person. Take Louie's 4 minutes to turn into a useful sentence. Yeah.
Thanks. No, I'm just trying to make sure I understand, Louie, because I'm learning here as well. There's a couple more questions. We'll try and give some brief answers because I know we're running up. Just a quick question from Charlene, Louie. Obviously, some local authorities putting more emphasis on CQC ratings, trying to give placements to people with only good and outstanding ratings. Has that played in your opinion, into any of those guidelines around how frequently people are going to be inspected? Because obviously, if they got a poor inspection in the past, that kind of cuts off.
It's certainly been a massive factor. Now, I spoke with CQC about this, and again, they're not passing the buck, but they're making a fair point, which is that it is not a CQC policy that local authorities only provide care to those that are rated good and outstanding. So that's not something that CQC themselves have enforced. It's the nature of what I said earlier. We've got a very expanding sector. So if you've got hundreds of potential, it's a really useful way to just filter them down. Now, CQC have recognised the impact that has had, and I think that has certainly contributed to the timeline. What I've said about a lot of what I've said today is there are some great promises there that we just need to understand how do they physically materialise. I can turn around and say to my kids, we'll go to Disneyland twice a week. I still need to work out the logistics and the money and how I actually physically get my kids there. It's the same here, a bit of an extreme there, but I agree with the 3 to 5 years. Personally, I think 3 years would be what we would all consider fair, but I know they've given themselves a bit of buffer there. I think the practical realities are the challenge. They're making sure they do that, but it has been influenced by people saying, look, I'm off framework, I've got an RI, and apparently I'm going to be stuck with it for 7 years and my service is going to go bust. And, I think that's a very real problem that CQC have become more aware of, and it's shaped that idea of the timelines.
Got it. So they are obviously taking people's opinions in when it comes to how many people they can get in their service, but
it was the same as registration as well.
Yeah,
it was the same as registration because people were waiting for ages to have their registration confirmed, and again couldn't provide care until that. So that's also why they're doing a lot of work on speeding up registration. They recognise the financial, practical impacts of that.
Absolutely. And then one last one for you, Louie. I think Sandra just wanted to know, any chance that CQC would give us any warnings before they come to inspect, or are they still going to be demanding and just turning up on the doorstep?
I was joking with someone yesterday that if CQC gave us a week before they turned up, we would be able to, our CQC staff training, we'd be fully booked. I'd be traveling the country because everyone would have a few days to prepare their staff. Right, they're coming tomorrow, training day. It would be brilliant for us. Unfortunately, CQC are still being quite pragmatic. And actually, as of kind of 25 into 26, they've been doing a lot more unannounced. Now, the one little caveat is that when they started with the new SAF, they started giving people a bit more notice, partially because they knew it was a new framework. So we might find that end of 26 into 27, there is a little bit of notice because we've got a new framework, new framework 2.0.
Another one.
But exactly, the new framework returns. But there is nothing from CQC that suggests that they're going to give people a week or give people a month. I do get it, to give a really silly analogy, my dad was in school in the 40s. That's how old my dad is, 50s, sorry. And they would always know when the school food inspectorate, which was a real thing in England back then, turned up because they had one nice meal a year, which was the year that the food inspectorate people came to school. This is like 1955. But you see, the message is still the same. If you know that people are rocking up in a week's time, guess what? You get your best staff in. You tell some of your other staff, hey, take a day off, you know, it's fine. You don't want them in the building. And so you can kind of understand why they do it that way. I don't think it's unfair, but I do think it's challenging.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, depending on how much that framework changes, they might give people a little bit more notice or a little bit more guidance on some of those changes. But it's never going to be, hey, we're coming on this date in 2 weeks' time, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, let's be blunt, we'd all love it if they did. It would make things in some ways quite helpful. But the deeper question is, would it make things safer for people? And some would argue that it might not. And that's why I don't think there's any plans to make those changes.
Got it. Completely makes sense. Louie, I think those are all the questions that we've had and we necessarily have time for. It's been a pleasure. You've been absolutely incredible.